Hello and welcome to day 20 of Business English 2. In our last class, I gave you a penmanship drill sheet, drill just being practice, some repetition, and I wanted to go over a few things from that. A few mistakes that some of you made, as well as some common mistakes that I see over and over again from students. And most of you did not make these mistakes, but sometimes when people get in a hurry, when they're not doing an actual homework assignment, where they're focusing on the penmanship, they tend to forget about certain rules or things that they should be doing. So if I said that they tend to do something, if you tend to do something, that's related to like the word tendency, which is like you're likely to do it. They will kind of naturally go back to their old habits or things that they have learned. So generally with like A and B, people don't really have problems. As I mentioned before, letters where the uppercase and the lowercase are the same shape but just different size. Some people will have trouble here because they don't keep the size difference in mind. And you can clearly see here, this one is twice as big as the capital C is twice as big as the little c. The little c only comes up halfway here to that little divider line there. So normally, you won't have paper with 3 lines like this. Usually this middle one you don't have, but in your mind, just keep that there, okay? D and E. The only thing with D, just make sure that you have this straight line here before you do the curved part. Some people do it too quickly. They'll try to do it quickly or all in one movement, and so sometimes it can look like an O, or an O can look like a D if they make it with a flat side here. So just be careful with those. Make sure that this is a very distinct straight line on the side here, and that your O, of course, is round. Okay. E, generally it's fine, except some people, what they'll do, instead of making the 4 lines, and normally when we write it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people I've seen actually make like a Z and then cross it. I tried doing this in different fonts to because I can't really do handwriting on here, so I just used some different fonts here to show what it would look like. This is kind of what probably a more likely one, because the line is in the middle. But that is not correct. You see here, this line goes to the left where it needs to come out to the right. Okay. All of the horizontal lines come to the right of the vertical line. So this is not correct. Okay. You cannot just do a Z and then add the horizontal line in the middle, because that means this line is in the wrong place. Okay. F, again, normally 3 strokes, down and then 1, 2, and be careful on your lowercase f. You must have this little curve part at the top. Okay, you have to have the curve at the top, otherwise it looks like a T. Okay, so be very careful with that. And notice there's no tail here on the F. Neither one comes below the line. What happens sometimes, again, different font here. This one looks good. This one, the capital F is fine, but then the lowercase one actually on this font is much taller, which is incorrect, and it's got a tail down here below the line. Okay, don't do that. Okay, there should not be a tail here. The G, like I mentioned before, just make sure you have this horizontal part here. Some people just come around, they make like the C shape and then come down, but they forget they don't do the little horizontal line. Okay, it's like they have this part and then down, but without the line across, and that again would be incorrect. It just doesn't look right. And make sure that you have the tail down below here. I, capital I, you can do the 1, 2, 3 lines, okay, like they have here as well. That's the most clear way to write it, because, as you know, of course, that in certain fonts, a capital I and a lowercase l and the number 1 can all look exactly the same, or very, very close to it, okay? And this font here, it says Architect's Daughter, okay, is the name of the font. If I change that to this Comic Sans, then you can see, oh, there's an I, there's an L, and the 1 is very different. Okay, so just be very careful with fonts that you choose and your own handwriting, so that if you're using things that could be confused, that you're doing it very carefully. Okay, now, as I mentioned last time, on the lowercase I, you don't want to do like Kathy here and put a little heart above it. Okay, and I normally don't see people do that actually, but it's a cute little picture. But what I do see is a lot of people will make the I with sort of an accent mark here, almost like an apostrophe instead of a dot. Okay, it should just be a round dot here, not an apostrophe and not a little circle. Okay, and it's not a flat line above the I. Okay, that would be like a pronunciation symbol. That would mean it's a long I, so it's pronounced I instead of I. Okay, so you don't want a line, you don't want a circle, just a dot above the I. Same with the J. Capital J, make sure you've actually got a curve here at the bottom, okay? And capital J, a lot of times we'll write it with the line across the top, but we can also write it without the line at the top, okay? This line, this horizontal line. You don't have to do that. A lot of times we don't, okay? But the capital J, the lowercase j, of course, you have to have has to have the tail down here and a small curve to the left, okay? Just like this. And again, a dot, just like the I. A dot, not a line, not an accent mark, not a circle, okay? So again, this would be incorrect. Capital K, lowercase k, again, be very careful with those. You notice here, this kind of where the center is here, that is where the lowercase k, that's as far up as these reach, okay? So, they're both the same height, okay, just like here, they're both the same height, but this part, the little legs here on the lowercase k are only half the size. Okay. So again, in this font, that looks pretty good, okay? This font, the lowercase k is actually taller, and then this, they've done more like a script, style writing, or cursive, okay? That font, which is kind of pretty, but again, they put the little accent marks above the I's, so I don't like that one. That bothers me, okay? But that's more of a script style or a cursive font, okay? So avoid that as well. L usually is fine. M, again, you don't have to come all the way to the bottom here on the capital M. You can come like halfway. That's fine. And the N, make sure on the M and N, let me put these in a better font here. I don't like that one. Make sure that you have the vertical line here and then 2 humps for the M, vertical line, 1 hump for the N. Okay. O, again, it's just the size difference. Be very aware of that. The O, little o is much smaller. P, make sure you have the tail. Oops, sorry. Q, make sure you have this little line in the bottom right corner here. Okay, just like this. Now for the lowercase one, it can just be the round part and then straight down, like both of these fonts did, or it can curve a little to the right. Okay, here like this. The curve to the right, I'd say, is probably more common, but you can just come straight down, and that's normal. That's acceptable. The main thing with the R, the little r, is what you want to be careful with, that you don't accidentally open up here, like the R and the lowercase r. You don't want to spread out this part of the letter, because if you do that, then it starts to look like a V. If you come down and then open that up too much, the little r and the little v can start to look the same. So just be careful with that. S, again, size difference, okay? And again, this font over here, we have the capital S. The lowercase is just a little bit smaller. So you want more like this, where it's half the size, okay? You don't want a medium S. You want a small s. U, I like this style where you have the little leg here, or the little tag on the bottom of the U, okay? A lot of the fonts you'll see, they don't do that, but what happens is if you make the U quickly, it can start to look like a V, or if you make a V quickly, it can come out kind of round and look like a U. So if you put that little line there, that little leg on the bottom right, that will make sure that there's no confusion, okay? And again, this font, they're almost the same size, so again, don't do that. They did the same thing with the V, so make sure that you have clear difference between your uppercase and lowercase, okay? And again, make sure a U is round at the bottom. V has a very sharp point at the bottom. X, again, size difference. Again, this font does not look good. Y, you can make Y with like 3 lines like this, or like they did here, you can do 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, or you can simply do 1, 2, which is probably more common. And then the little y is smaller size, and again, make sure you have that tail. This font, again, is not good, okay, because the way these are arranged, actually, they've done it so that the capital Y has a tail which comes down as far as the lowercase y. And this lowercase y is almost as tall as the capital Y. So don't do that, okay? Z, again, size difference. Here, again, on this font, their capital and small z are almost the same size, okay? Make sure that you keep the size difference clear there, okay? So just keep those things in mind. The biggest problems I see are with the I and the J. Instead of using a dot here, people use the accent mark or a little circle or even a long line above the I and the J. So just be careful with that and make sure you avoid those problems. Okay, so last time for your attendance check, I gave you this little image here, this little picture that some kid drew. Got some numbers here. I just realized I think that's actually a pen there, just on a piece of paper, and then 1 + 1 = 2, and a picture of a woman here with a Guess like a flowered shirt. And it says, I like Mrs. Edwards. She is my teacher. I like when she does math with us. Okay, so what are the problems here? All of you found some problems. How many did you actually find? Well, let's see what I found. This is a good I because it's very clear that that's a capital I. I like Mrs. Edwards. The L here is like written like an uppercase L, a capital L. And notice the K here is so that middle K. You can see the center line here, this middle line. The top part of this K should only come up to there. Okay, so the K is kind of a medium K. So the L should just be a straight line like that, and the K should be a little smaller. This could be slightly taller here. The font I have doesn't fit this exactly, so I was trying to make sure that you could see that this part only came halfway up. So I like Mrs. Edwards. Mrs. is a title, so that should be a capital M. I like Mrs. Edwards. She is my teacher. This S and the H here, you can read them, but they're both kind of like the S is going this way, the H is going this way. So we can just rewrite those. Not really an error, but not neatly written. Okay. She is my teacher. Teacher is spelled incorrectly. Should be T-E-A. Not T-E-C-H, but T-E-A-C-H-E-R. Teacher. I like when she does math with us. Again, that's fine. The L here isn't quite as bad as this one, but it's still got that little line at the bottom. And this K is almost a capital K. So the L and the K, again, need to fix those. I like when the N here is just kind of cut off, okay, because the original image that was on the internet was cut off. So I'm just going to rewrite that there. I like when she does math with us. I like when she does not need to be capitalized. It's just a pronoun, okay. I like when she does math with us. Now, what is this math? What is math? Of course, that should be math with us, because you can see here the addition problem at the top, and most of you realize that meth was just misspelled, should have been math, and that's a common subject, not a course title, so we can use a lowercase n there, M-A-T-H. Now, some of you wanted to correct this, just say, I like it when she does math with us. You could say that. You could say, I like it when she does math with us. That means I like the time. I like that situation. I like it. I like the event. I like the time when she does math with us. I enjoy doing math with her. Okay? But some of you changed it to I like her when she does math with us. Well, that sounds a little awkward, because if you say I like her when she does math with us, well, what if she does science with you? Oh, I don't like her when she does science with us. I don't like her when she does English with us. I only like her when she does math. So that sounds a little strange, a little awkward. So this is fine the way it is. I like when she does math with us. I like it. I like that time that we do math. Okay? So you could add the word it here, but you don't need to. I like when she does math with us. Now, we've got the spelling mistake, but what is meth? Because that's actually a real word. Meth refers to crystal meth. Crystal meth is a drug. Okay? Crystal referring to the form, the shape it's in, like a crystal structure, the arrangement of the atoms would be a crystal form. And meth, so it looks like this. It's a crystallized structure. And the meth refers to, if you look down here at the bottom, That's short for methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is a drug, an illegal drug, and it is very harmful to you. So it says this series of photos graphically illustrates. Graphically means, can just mean like in a picture, but also it can mean here in a very clear, kind of a shocking sort of way. Graphically illustrates the deterioration going down. If something becomes worse and worse, it deteriorates. The deterioration of a methamphetamine user over the course of 10 years. So here we start at the beginning. So first year, second year, third year, fourth year, you can see here what's happening to her face. Fifth year, she's looking pretty rough. Sixth year, you can really see her eyes and her face here. Now her cheeks, her eyes, her neck, just getting worse and worse. And this is by the 10th year, she just looks terrible. Because methamphetamine actually eats your brain and destroys your cells. It's very destructive to your body. It destroys you physically. It's a big problem in the U.S., methamphetamine use, or meth. And I have seen a few cases in the news in Korea where people produce it to sell as an illegal drug. What they do is they actually cook it. They get the ingredients, and some of the ingredients come from things like cold medicine. So in the U.S., cold medicine is, you don't need a prescription for it, but you have to sign at the pharmacy and show your driver's license. And so they kind of keep track of who is buying cold medicine. Because some of the ingredients in cold medicine, they cook somehow and create this crystal meth. But it's very dangerous. Sometimes it actually causes an explosion. So there have been cases, people producing this at home, where the entire home has basically exploded. And people will do it sometimes even in like a hotel room or a school laboratory. There was one case in Korea where they were using a science lab, I guess like a chemistry lab at their university, to produce this crystal meth. Okay, so it's really dangerous stuff. Physically, it can, just the people producing it can blow themselves up or destroy a building and other people. And also just physically, it's a terrible drug. So there's this story from the news. Laurel County is in Kentucky. States are divided into counties. And it says 5 arrested in a meth lab bust. Wait. You cook crystal meth in a lab, but that would be a meth lab. So, oh, I hate this font. Let me get away from that font. You would cook crystal meth in a meth lab. But, so that's the word they want here. 5 arrested in a meth lab bust. A bust is an arrest, like where the police come in and bust them. They catch them doing something. They actually want a meth lab. Because but it sounds funny here because it's a math lab bust. Would that be like a math hogwan? Why would they bust them? Were they, dividing by 0? Because of course in mathematics you cannot divide by 0. So that would be, if you have something like 1 over 0, that is illegal in mathematics. So maybe you could arrest people at a math lab if they're dividing by 0, because you can't do that. Okay, so Captain Picard here again would do the face pull. Oh my God, it's not a math lab, meth lab. Okay, so I like Mrs. Edwards. She is my teacher. I like when she does math with us. And the final thing is we are missing a period at the end of the sentence. So how many mistakes were there? I'd say 1, 2, 3. Not exactly a mistake, just some careless writing. And they're the right size and shape. They're just sort of leaning to the side. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not really a mistake here. Again, it just got cut off. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9 for spelling and capitalization. 9, and the period makes 10 mistakes. Okay? So how many did you find? Did anybody find all 10? Okay, let us move on. Alright, so the reason, of course, that we're looking at these things is just to make sure that when you write things, when you put things on paper, that they are correct and accurate and easy for other people to read, and so that you don't have confusion or mistakes there. Now, normally, of course, in a face-to-face class, I would actually give you one of the quizzes where you had to write your answers by hand, and penmanship would be a part of that. This semester, you get a little break because I can't really, I can't see your handwriting when you're taking a test on Google Forms. So you guys get a little break there. But I did want to talk about it and cover it so that it is something that you still learn. Okay. Now this is a picture I took at the phone shop a couple of years ago. And obviously this is all in Korean. So let's just look at the top here, the part that is in English. What does this say? Well, to me it looks like Appy Music. Because this is an I, this is an I. It's written in all capital letters. It's written in all capital letters. So, the A, the P's, the E, everything is a capital letter. So that's a capital I. That would also be a capital I. Appy Music. But, of course, is that what they want to say? No, of course not. They want Apple Music. Okay, it's a phone store. They're selling iPhones. That should say Apple Music. So when you write, so here actually they've used either a lowercase L, or they've just used a capital I. Okay, but it definitely looks out of place. It has to be, it should look like this, Apple Music. Okay, so let's make this font. This is a good one for signs like that. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And so what do we call it when we write something in all capital letters, or what we call, all caps? We can shorten the word capital letters here to caps. When you write something in all caps, we call that block letters. Block letters. Because if you write something in like a box or a block shape, then it fits into that. Or let me put it this way. If you have a block, a square, then if you have lowercase letters, some of those letters will not fit properly because they have tails, like the P and the G and the Y. They would, or the J, the bottom part of the letter would hang outside of the box, so they don't fit right. But if you use all capital letters, all of the capital letters fit easily or fit perfectly between that top line and the bottom line. None of them have a tail that comes below there, or anything that would go above that line. So they would easily fit in like a square shape or a block. How do you get all capital letters? If you're typing, you can use the caps lock key. Caps here again stands for capital letters. So caps lock, it locks it in position so that everything you type is in capital letters. If you just want one capital letter, of course, you hit the shift key. That shifts up to the uppercase, okay? But if you want to do a lot of letters, a whole word or more in capital letters, you can use this caps lock key, and that types everything in capital letters. Now, I sent you this form earlier, this form from, this is actually an immigration form from Malaysia. It's just a form that I found online, and the only reason I chose this one is it had, I liked the design of it, the style of it, and the questions that it asked, okay? So let's go through this, and you can see here, on this type of form, when they have all of these little boxes, you should write one letter in each box. And when they're written like this, this is when you would want to use block letters, okay? That's what it's designed for. Because if you use lowercase letters, the tails would come down below there and almost into the other boxes, and so they don't fit neatly inside all of these little boxes or blocks. So for something like this, you would use block letters. So let's look at the instructions here at the top. It says tick where appropriate, and for the tick here, they show a little check mark. Okay. Let me get back to my other font here. They show a little check mark. Okay. That does not need to be in all capital letters, but I'll leave it. Check mark, notice you can see here, is short on the left side and long on the right side. Okay, that's what it will look like. So, check mark, short on this side, long on this side. I see a lot of people, they basically just make a V, okay, where it's the same length on both sides. That is not a check mark. And of course the X then is the cross, like that. Okay. And they say here, tick where appropriate. Tick means make a check mark. Okay. So if you're if there's a box and you need to answer it, you could just put a little check in it. Of course, most cases, if you put an X, they'll understand it, but let's do it the way they want. Put a check mark, a tick mark, and that's what you would use also, like if you have a checklist. As you complete each item on the list, obviously this list is blank, but if you had things written here, oh, I finished this one, check it off, or check this one off, check this one off, check this one off. You can check them off as you complete them. Or you could say you tick them off your list. If you tick each one off, as it's completed, you mark it. Okay. Same thing on a to-do list. Oh, I went for a walk, I can check that off. You can say check it off also. Oh, I send an email to John. Check it off your list. Okay. And you can write to-do list, 2 words, things that you need to do, or sometimes we'll combine that and just say to-do list, all capital letters. So tick where appropriate, put a check mark. Delete where appropriate. Now, can you delete things from a printed piece of paper? No, you can't actually. You cannot delete them if they're on a piece of paper, so that's probably not the best word choice there. So you could say like leave blank where appropriate, or leave blank if not required, something like that. Okay. Let's move to the right side here. says affix a recent passport size photograph here. Affix means to attach, or you could say fasten, to place, and place it so that it doesn't fall off. So you could use glue, or in Korea, not blue, not the color, glue, or in Korea you usually say bond. That's not the word we would use in English. We'd say glue. You could glue it. You could tape it. Would you staple it? Probably not. You wouldn't want to put a staple through a photo. Okay. So put a photo there. Okay. Here's just one I took off the internet. Passport size, so it has the right measurements. You can see here. Okay. And then application for a visit pass, visit and visa, visa and visit, or entry visa. We're not actually going to Malaysia. Okay. So just leave that blank. Okay, we don't need to do that part. Don't worry about that. Part 1, particulars of applicant. Your particulars, that's your details. Or, whoop, I can't spell today. Details, or we could call, say, like your personal details. Okay, your personal information. Your particulars. So, foreign identification number, FIN. We don't have that. Don't worry about that. Just leave that blank. Okay. Sex, male or female. All of you can answer that question. Okay. So tick where appropriate. So you would tick in the box. Put a check mark in whichever one you are. Date of birth, and sometimes we'll abbreviate that. DOB, date of birth, is a common one. We have DDMMYYYY. DD, that's day. So for example, today is the 21st, so you put a 2-1. Month, what month is it? May, which is the 5th month. So you put 05. You want to use both boxes, 05, and then 2020, year. Okay, so always make sure you use 2 digits. So if it was January, that would be the day. So if it was January 13th, it would be 13 day, and then I'll just put the dash there. Month, January, and then 2020. Okay. So make sure you always read this carefully, because different countries will use different order for how they do this. In Korea, you do year, month, day. Year is the biggest, month is the next smallest, day is the smallest. So that's logical. Here they've gone smallest, bigger, largest. So it's also logical, but it's completely different. So just make sure you read this correctly. And you may see some where they do it differently too. They may do, for example, in the US, the most common way is to do month, day, year. Okay, so if I was writing today's date, I would write 5/21/2020. Or I could write 5/21/2020. Or the quickest way to do it, a lot of times we just write the year as 2 digits, like you do in Korea sometimes. You don't always write the year in 4 digits. Sometimes they just do 2 digits. Okay. And of course, I could also do 5/21/20, just like that. Okay. If we're writing it in numbers, that's would be the most common way to write it in the US. If I'm writing words, I would write May 21, comma, 2020. Okay. So we would normally, this is the most common way to do it in the US, month, day, year. On certain things where it's more formal, like maybe a contract or some sort of formal document, we might write 21 May 2020. Okay, so it just depends on the situation, but my point is always read and make sure that you're doing it the way that they want it. The next box here says for Malaysians only. None of you are Malaysian, so leave it blank. Don't fill this in. Marital status. Your status is your current situation. Single, married, separated, divorced, widowed. Single means never married. Married, of course, married. Separated means you're married but living apart because of marital problems, difficulties. Okay? Not just because maybe one of you is working in a different city, but separated because of some problems in the marriage, which means that the marriage, you'll probably get divorced later, but you're not yet, so you're just separated. It's a legal status. Okay? Divorced, of course you know that. What is widowed, though? Widowed means that one of the partners has passed away, has died. If a man is widowed, he is called a widower. If a woman is widowed, if her husband has passed away, she is a widow. Okay, so we use a different term here. A man whose wife has passed away is a widower. A woman whose husband has passed away is a widow. And that would be passed away. Not P-A-S-T, but P-A-S-S-E-D. If someone has died, we could say they have passed away. And a good way to remember this is with the black widow spider. If you're familiar with them, they have a black body here. They have this red, call it an hourglass marking. An hourglass is like the sand, the glass thing with the sand in it that runs through, like a sand clock, I think. It's sort of the Konglish version of that. Do you know why they're called black widow spiders? What happens is after they mate, after the male and the female get together, the female eats the male. She kills him and eats him and uses his body that is nutrients for their babies. So that's why, and then obviously her husband, her partner, is now dead because she killed him. So she is a widow. And of course black because of the color of the body. So black widow spider. Other species that do that would be a praying mantis. This is a praying mantis. Also, after they mate, often the female will eat the male's head. So that's what he's saying. He's out at the bar having a drink. Says, might as well stay and have one more. Wife's going to chew my head off when I get home anyway. So, in reality, she might eat his head if they mate when he gets home. But to chew my head off means to, if somebody chews your head off, they criticize you, they kind of verbally attack you. It's like, where were you? I was alone all night with the kids. I was waiting up for you. You didn't call. You didn't tell me where you were. I was worried about you. Blah, 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 blah. They chew your head off. Okay? So here the praying mantis says, yeah, my wife's going to chew my head off. I may as well have another beer. May as well relax. Okay, so check the correct box here. Leave this blank. Now, name, family name or surname. We've talked about that. Your family name, your surname is, of course, your last name. Your last name is your family name, and that is also considered your surname, okay? So, and you will write that with one letter in each box. Block letters, all capital letters, okay? Given name, that is your given name is your first plus middle, okay? That's your given name. That's the name your parents gave you, okay? So again, one letter in each box, and if you've got two names, then you would leave between those, just leave an empty box. Alias. An alias is like another name that you use sometimes. Family name or surname, given name. For this class, your given name, sort of an alias for this class, is your English nickname. Okay? So in this box, write your English nickname. Your family name would be the same. Okay? So English nickname here, family name up here. All right? Your name in Chinese characters, if applicable. For example, I don't have any idea what my name would be in Chinese characters. I don't write my name in Chinese characters, but if you do, if you are Chinese, or I know a lot of Koreans know how to write their name in Chinese characters, you can go ahead and write that there. Okay. Country of birth. Write your country here, one letter in each box. Now, what about Korea? Can you simply write Korea? No, because there are two Koreas. So you would need to write South Korea, because of course there is also North Korea. Or you could write the formal name, the Republic of Korea. Okay, that's sort of the formal name of South Korea. Okay, so you can write either South Korea or Republic of Korea, or of course if you were born somewhere else, for example China, just write China. Oh, except make sure that you do these in block letters, all capital letters. Okay, now I was born in the U.S., so would I need to write United States of America, or even United States? That's getting kind of long. Probably not. On something like this, I could write USA. That's a commonly recognized initials. Same with UAE, United Arab Emirates. So those would work okay. Could you write ROK, Republic of Korea? Probably not. I would say people in Korea, U.S. military uses that all the time, the rock. They live on the rock. But people from other countries probably wouldn't recognize that. So I would not use that. But USA, UAE, UK, those are commonly recognized initials of countries. State or province of birth. So in Korea, you have provinces. So for example, if you were born in Gyeonggi province, Gyeonggi, you could write Gyeonggi-do or Gyeonggi province. Okay, either one of those would be acceptable, would be okay. Okay, Gyeonggi-do or Gyeonggi province. All right. If you're writing Gyeonggi-do, there will be a dash between Gyeonggi and the word do. In the U.S., we have states. All right. So I would write, I was born in Kentucky. Okay, that would be my state. Race, E-G. Here you see that E period, G period. That means, for example, okay? For example, Malay, Indian, Chinese, etc. Normally, Asian would include Malay, Indian, Chinese, okay? In the U.S., when we talk about race, basically you're either Asian or Caucasian, which is white, or black, or Hispanic, or Latino. Hispanic is like Spanish descent. Latino is like Latin America. Okay. These would be the most common groups we would use in the U.S. Sometimes they do things like Pacific Islander. Also like Native American. Okay. So normally we would not consider Malay, Chinese, Korean, Japanese as a race. Those would be considered ethnic groups. They're all Asian, but that would be the ethnic group. So ethnic groups, that would be like Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Malay. Okay, those would be ethnic groups, not separate races. Okay, so for race here, just Asian, Caucasian. Okay, nationality. Nationality. I could write American, or again on a form like this, I would probably put USA. If you're from Korea, South Korea is a country, so you'd write South Korean. Or if you're from China, China is the country, you would be Chinese. Okay, would be the nationality. Okay. Religion or denomination. Religion would be like Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. Okay. Denomination is like the division of the religion. For example, in Christianity, there are many different groups of Christians. There are, Baptist, Presbyterian, Lutheran. Those would be the denomination. Okay. For this class, I don't need to know your religion. Okay. If you want to write it, you can, but you don't need to. And for example, if you're Catholic, the religion is Catholic, not Catholicism. Okay. You would just write Catholic, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu. Okay. Or if you don't have a religion, you can just leave it blank. Or you could write none, or you could write N-A, or N/A. What does that mean? It means not applicable. Not applicable means it does not apply to me. Okay, so you could write not applicable there, just N-A or N/A. Okay? And again, don't worry about the travel document stuff here at the bottom. So I would like you to fill this out. I've given you exactly what to write. This is a little homework assignment. If you can print the document, that's great, and fill it out. If not, then you can just write it by hand. Okay, if you're unable to print it, you can write it by hand and upload that, or send it on Kakao Talk. And if you, you can just send it in the main chat in Kakao. Okay, I don't think there's any real personal information here. If you don't want to give your real date of birth, you can make a fake one. Okay, if you don't want to tell everybody your actual birthday, okay, that would be fine. But just make sure you follow the correct format here. Okay, so if you want to hide your birthday, I think that's the only real secret information here. Okay, the only real personal information. And you don't need to attach an actual photo. You can draw something or put a funny picture if you want to. Okay. But just send that. That will be your homework for today, your attendance check as well. Okay. So we've talked about the penmanship. Make sure you follow that. Use the correct style when you do this form. Okay. Journals. You've already turned in 5 journals. You have to do 10 journals in total. So the other 5, which means you'll have 10 total, those are going to be due on Thursday, June 4th. Okay, Thursday, June 4th. All 10 of your journals will be due. The 5 that you've already done, plus another 5, for a total of 10. Okay? We're going to be talking about sentence structure next. We're going to be talking about avoiding and fixing some common errors. Again, for accuracy, to make your communication more clear and more correct. So that's what we're going to be looking at next. We'll be looking at different sentence styles, different sentence lengths, and we'll be looking, first of all, about what is a sentence, okay? As we do this, we're going to be talking about conjunctions again, so you might want to go back and review the information from earlier in the semester about conjunctions. We'll be using this again. Remember the fanboys, okay? And how to use them. Remember the comma and a conjunction. We talked about compound sentences. We have a sentence, comma, conjunction, sentence. We're going to be looking at this in much more detail. We're going to be using this. So review this information, okay? We looked at some examples. We looked at some more complex examples. So make sure you review this information, okay, so that you're ready for our discussion next week, okay, that you're ready for the work that we're doing. After that, we'll be doing another editor's challenge, okay, kind of putting some of these things together about sentence structure, using conjunctions, and things like that. And that's, I can go ahead and send you this if you want it. But this, next week we'll be working on the sentence structure, so this will be like the week after that, when we'll be doing this editor's challenge. Okay? So that is everything for today and this week. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Monday. Thank you.